Okay, this video is a little bit overdue. I'm sorry. I skipped episode 4 of Moonknight last week because I actually was in Colorado for vacation, and I came back Wednesday night and I just didn't have the energy to record. So what I did is on Friday, before I left for Colorado, like before that Wednesday, I pre-recorded a bunch of videos so that didn't really have to record much that week. But anyways, we're doing Moonknight episodes 4 and 5 review and my thoughts in this video. We're gonna do both in one video because why not, you know, gotta get back on track. But anyways, these episodes, oh my god, there's so much that I could talk about, and there was just so much going on in this whole episode. I mean, I don't even know where to start, dude. Like, this was mind-blowing. Okay, hold on. Let me kill this guy real quick, and then I'll talk about it. So, episode 4 was a continuation of episode 3. Obviously, Steven has the body because Mark passed out. Khonshu is gone, so there's no more Khonshu. But basically, it's Steven and Layla, and they're trying to find Amit's tomb before Harrow, and Harrow's already found the tomb, but he's fighting off these monsters. I don't really know what they are because they didn't really explain what they were actually fighting in the tombs. They just kind of showed like them being very violent creatures. But anyways, I don't think I need to talk too much about the start of this episode or most of this episode, honestly, because it was more of like a detective-y type episode of them going around trying to find the voice of Amit, which actually turned out to be Alexander the Great's body, which was a little bit creepy, but it was really interesting. Now, this episode went really in depth with Steven and Layla's character. They did Layla's character really well in this episode. They went in depth with her, gave her a lot of screen time, and showed off her absolutely being awesome, surviving against that creature. I still don't know what it's called, but absolutely destroying it. And I really enjoyed the scene where she was hiding from that creature because it was literally like a horror scene. It was literally so scary and so creepy on so many levels. And this episode was so dark, and I honestly got chills throughout this episode. It's definitely the darkest the MCU has ever gone, and this is the MCU, not like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, and all that, but it's definitely the darkest the MCU has ever gone. And it was absolutely crazy to see this like really creepy mummy guy literally cutting open an alive human body and then taking out the bones of the human and then like putting it into like a cup. I mean, that was literally so creepy and so scary, and it like made me so like, I was so shocked to see it because I was like, yo, I definitely did not expect this in an MCU episode. But yeah, it was absolutely insane. And why is this guy just following me around? What are you doing? Go away, stop. But yeah, it was absolutely mind-boggling. And then Layla literally had to 1v1 that dude, and she somehow survived. But yeah, overall, that was awesome. We found out that Mark was actually present when Layla's dad was killed. It's not really unexpected. We kind of knew this was gonna happen. They teased this a lot when Steven was originally arrested by Harrow's people. They hinted at somebody killing Layla's father. Well, Mark killing Layla's father, and even though he didn't do it, he was actually in the area because his partner mercenary actually got greedy and tried to kill everybody, and did kill everybody. Anyways, with that being said, this whole episode was literally so dark, from what I talked about earlier, that like mummy dude cutting open the guy on the table, all the way to like the scene where Mark was surrounded by Harrow's men, and he started using an axe that Alexander the Great had in his coffin and literally like slicing people. It was absolutely crazy. And then the biggest shock of all, like no one expected this, Harrow just shoots Mark like twice, and it was so shocking. And it was like, that scene gave me absolute chills. Like, that scene was so scary, and I didn't expect it whatsoever, and I was like so confused. I was like, wait, what just happened? And I was like so shocked, and that was an absolutely insane scene. I have seen so many edits of it on TikTok because it was absolutely crazy. Oh my god, it gave me chills. And that's kind of where everything completely changed in the show. That's where the show took a way different direction than it was taking originally, and honestly became the most interesting thing ever. Now, the show's already been like my favorite MCU show for a while. Every episode has been 10 out of 10, and this one did not lack. This episode was also a 10 out of 10, especially after Mark got shot and then he woke up in a mental hospital. That was literally crazy, and it was so unexpected, and it literally made me question my reality as well. Like, it was so confusing, and I had to really watch it again and look at everything that was going on to understand it. Mark and Steven did die, die and they can't get resurrected, obviously, because Khonshu is no longer with them because he was actually stoned by the other gods because he manipulated the sky. They were on their own. Mark and Steven were on their own, no healing powers and no suit. So with that being said, Mark wakes up and he has no idea what's going on, and from here on out, the portrayal of his DID was absolutely incredible. The portrayal of his mental illness was so well done. Oscar Isaac does such a phenomenal job of acting in this episode. It is absolutely unbelievable. We get constant like flashbacks to what's going on in Mark's head and what seems to be real, and we see a bunch of like little Easter eggs that were callbacks to the rest of the last 4 episodes, basically shown in different ways in the mental hospital. So basically there's like patients that were other characters, there's inanimate objects that were like used in the previous episodes. So overall, like, there's just so much crazy stuff going on, and we realize that all of this is happening in Mark's head, and Stephen Grant is from Tomb Raiders, and so this is all so interesting. And keep in mind, at this point we don't know it's real. Now we have a better understanding of episode 4 after episode 5 comes out, but going off of episode 4, we didn't really know what was going on, so this was absolutely incredible. I don't even know like what to say to like give this episode the credit it deserves. Episode 4 was amazing. It was so dark. It was literally scary, and I haven't like really been scared of anything Marvel. Okay, is this guy like cheating? Hello? I'm sorry, it's a little off topic. This guy has some crazy hits. I have never been so like scared in an episode of a like MCU show. So like this was actually incredible, and overall another 10 out of 10 episode. And if I could, I would honestly rate this episode like an 11. Okay, like this episode was perfect in every way possible. I loved it so much. The character building between Layla and Steven, how Steven kind of fell in love with Layla, and it's because Steven is kind of everything Layla could ever want, and Mark is what Layla had, and they're the same body, the same very attractive body with Steven's personality, and Layla is obviously going to fall in love with that because that's everything she's ever wanted, and she's so happy for him. And shout out to that scene where Mark punched Steven. That was actually really, really funny, and I kind of loved it. Okay, well, he's dead now. GG. That was a good game. So episode 4 ended really weird. We saw Mark get Steven out of a coffin, and then we saw Jake Lockie's coffin as well, but for some reason they didn't open it. And then at the end of the episode, we saw a giant hippopotamus walk through a pair of doors. Now, if you guys don't know who this is the goddess Powerette, I think. I don't really know how to say her name, but she is the goddess of childbirth and fertility, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, she provides some context as to what's going on and where Mark and Steven actually are. So basically, they're in some sort of middle area in the Egyptian afterlife, and they're on like a plane similar to the astral dimension that we saw in Black Panther. So this is really interesting. It's some sort of like middle ground. So it's like they're not really dead, but they're also not alive, which is really, really interesting. And basically they make it seem like that's what's going on in Mark's head. So we don't actually know if like that's the like plane they're in, or if Mark is just going crazy and he's just suffering from mental illness. So it's really interesting how they portray this episode. They go back and forth with what seems to be in Mark's head and what seems to be actually happening. Conversations between Mark, Steven, and Dr. Hero. It seems like all of the characters that we saw in the previous episodes are just taking up different roles in Mark's head. But this episode was an emotional roller coaster, okay? This episode was unbelievable, and it just, oh my god, when you think that the last episode is the best one and then the next one gets even better, and it's been happening the whole season, literally, I thought 1 was gonna be the best episode, and then 2 came out and 2 was amazing, and then 3 came out and 3 was amazing, and then 4 came out and 4 was amazing, and now we have episode 5 and it's my favorite one. And I understand there might be some like recency bias, but this is absolutely unbelievable. Like, the show has been so good. Every episode has been just so freaking unbelievable, and I am so impressed with how Marvel's been handling the characters of Mark and Steven. It's just, oh my god, it's just so well done, and I am so in love with this show. But anyways, this episode was so crazy. Basically, Powerette was telling them that they were dead, or they were about to die, and this was kind of like somewhat of a limbo plane, so they were kind of just there for a while, and then they were going to die. But Mark said he needs to get back, and Powerette says that if Mark and Steven can balance their scales, she can make that happen. And and for some reason their scales weren't balancing. This is obviously a callback to Arthur Harrow and his obsession with people's scales balancing to determine if they're a good person or not. Basically, this was really interesting because this episode was about them revisiting Mark and Steven's entire past, and Mark opening up about his past, us getting a real understanding of what Mark's past was actually like, and this was the most heartbreaking episode I've ever seen. I mean, this whole episode was literally, oh my god, it was just so sad. There's so many things we find out in this episode that are just devastating, and the start is that Stephen Grant's mother is dead. Basically, we find out that Mark is actually he's the original personality, and what happens is he actually had a brother when he was younger, and him and his brother went to this like cave to have fun, and the cave started filling with water, and basically his brother drowned and he didn't. Keep in mind, this is the older brother not protecting the younger brother trope. So basically, Mark/Steven's mother blamed Mark for his brother dying and kind of ruined their relationship forever, and that was just like really devastating to watch. Like, it was so hard for me to watch that, and it was just, oh my god, it was so sad, and I felt so bad for Mark. Basically, oh no, I just fell off. Mark's mom was abusive to him, and this is where we find out where Steven really came from. Basically, this is how Mark developed DID, and this was an absolutely beautiful portrayal of DID and how it can develop in children in their traumatic experiences. I think that when Mark's mother was actually abusive to him, they make it seem like Steven was the personality that was like shown that, but I think that was actually Jake, not Steven, because Steven has no recollection of his mom ever hurting him. The only recollection Steven has of his mom is her being a good person and being nice to him and treating him well and being alive. So I actually think that Jake is the one that took all of the beatings, and that's why Jake was such a troubled personality and the most troubled one in the comics as well, because Jake was the one taking all of the beatings instead of Steven or Mark. With that being said, I think Steven's personality developed from Jake's personality, and that Steven is basically just like all of the good parts that Mark didn't get to be, which is really, really heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking because, I mean, Steven was over here thinking his mom was alive, and it's just really sad to find out like Mark's backstory is so dark. But basically this was kind of unnecessary setup in order for the scales to balance, because Steven kind of has to find out about Mark's past, at least that's what we think, for the scales to balance. And they did a really good job with this whole scales balancing thing, because they made it seem like Jake had to be freed in order for the scales to balance, but that's actually not what happened, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, basically, with that being said, I'm not going to get into everything they went through, but Steven and Mark saw all of the people Mark had killed. Mark opened up about what happened with Layla's father. They also showed the scene where Mark was at his mother's funeral, and it was so sad. It was, oh my god, that scene literally made me cry a little bit. It was literally, it was really devastating. It was heartbreaking, and I almost cried so many times in this episode. By far, like, one of the saddest things I've ever seen, and oh my god, it was just, this whole episode was just so heartbreaking and so hard to watch, but so beautifully done, and I am so impressed with how Marvel went about these characters, because it's just like the acting, the like cinematography, the character writing is so beautiful, and I just love that Marvel has decided not to overlook Steven and Mark's trauma and actually talk about it and go in depth about it and really make the show about that and not anything else. It's just so beautifully done, and it was just so perfect. Anyways, later we find out that the reason the scales weren't balancing wasn't because Mark and Steven had to free Jake, it was because Steven had to die, which is really, really sad. I mean, Steven's just been taking L's this entire, like, series, and now Steven has to die for the scales to balance, which is just kind of heartbreaking, and it's just really sad. I think that Mark kind of had to face the reality about what happened when he was younger, and Steven had to understand what was going on, and Steven took the bullet so that Mark could go into the field of reeds and get back to reality, and that's exactly what happened. The field of reeds was actually a callback to episode 1. The girl that Steven was talking to in the museum, the Egyptian museum, at the start of the first episode, actually asked Steven why he wasn't accepted into the field of reeds, which is like, that was like such a good callback. It's the first time I've probably cried in a Marvel TV show, I think. I don't know. It was just, man, it got my emotions flowing like so much. It was crazy, dude. It was crazy, and I'm so happy with how this episode has gone. Now I want to talk about something a little bit different, and this might make it a little bit sad, but I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit concerned for the future of this episode and this series, because if you guys don't know, this series actually only has one episode left in it. This Moon Knight's gonna be over in one episode. So basically, like, I'm a little bit concerned because if Moon Knight's ending in one episode, they have to wrap this whole show up in one episode. And that's gonna be a little bit hard to do with how much they still have to go over. Like, Harrow still has to be stopped. There's still a lot that needs to happen, you know? I'm a little bit concerned for what's going to happen in the finale, and I've heard that it actually has the shortest runtime ever, so it's going to be the shortest episode so far, which is, like, really concerning. So I hope that Marvel can pull through, because if there's one thing they've not done a great job of, it's wrapping up their shows. Like, the finales in the MCU have been definitely, like, the weakest parts of the shows. For example, Hawkeye, Loki, and WandaVision, all in my opinion. I don't know, I just feel like it hasn't been the strongest parts of the shows, and that's a little bit concerning. So I don't know, we are really putting everything into this finale. Like, this finale has to hit, or else it's gonna be really sad, because this show is not getting a season 2, unless they renew it, obviously, but the show has not been renewed for season 2, so right now it's only one season. So I'm a little bit concerned, but I really hope that Marvel can pull through and give us a really good ending, because that's what the show deserves. I mean, we need a good ending here, Marvel. Like, we really need a good ending here. I'm going to be so upset if we get 5 10 out of 10 episodes and the last one lacks. But I trust Marvel after everything they've done in this show, after the amazing portrayal of Moon Knight that Oscar Isaac and everyone else on their team has done. I have faith that Marvel will not disappoint us, okay? I have faith that it will go well, and it will be a good episode, okay? And I don't know, oh my god, I just hope it's satisfying. I just really hope it's satisfying. One more thing I forgot to mention is the scene that revisited Mark's origin story was absolutely incredible. It was so cool how they showed Mark basically shot dead by his partner on that mission that killed Layla's father. He was basically dead, and he went up to Khonshu's, I guess, like, I don't really know what it was, but it was some sort of temple or place where Khonshu rested, and Khonshu basically insulted him a little bit, and then asked Mark if he wanted to live, and basically gave Mark eternal life, and obviously not eternal, because he's kind of dead right now, but basically gave Mark life. And oh my god, can I not fall off again? Okay, yeah, that whole origin story was absolutely incredible. It was so well done, and it was, oh my god, it was so sick. It was literally so sick. One thing I was expecting was, I was expecting them to go over what happened in episode 1 from Mark's perspective, when they, like, showed off everything that Steven was seeing in the first episode. I thought they were gonna go into that, but they didn't, which was a little bit surprising, and I would say a little bit of a missed opportunity. Like, I would have liked to see what happened through Mark's eyes, but it's okay. I think we all know how powerful Mark is. It's just that we haven't seen very many fight scenes in this show compared to, like, how strong Moon Knight is, so it's a little bit, like, I don't know, they only have 6 episodes to build a whole story, so it's, I guess, understandable. Anyways, episode 5 was literally also a 10 out of 10 for me. Literally another 10 out of 10 episode. We are 5 for 5 on 10 out of 10 episodes, which is kind of unbelievable. Like, that is so good. That is so good, and this is the first Marvel show that has been this perfect. There's been no lacking episodes. Everything has been above par, and I'm just so happy with Moon Knight and the direction it's taken. This is definitely, like, I don't know, if this episode has a good ending, it might be in, like, my top 5 shows of all time, which is saying a lot. It's saying a lot, because that is, I have a pretty high bar, and maybe I'll talk about my top 5 shows in a different video, but it's not easy to get in there, okay? I promise. It's not easy to get in there. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll find out, and I would be really excited if the last episode was really good. That would be awesome, and I would be really happy. But anyways, this video has been pretty long, but I think my commentary was pretty good in this one because I had a lot to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna go ahead and end this game here. It's been a good one. It's been a really cool one, and I'm really happy with how these episodes have been, and I'm so so happy with Marvel, man. This has been awesome. This has truly been, like, incredible. So, thank you, Marvel, for providing us with the greatest content of all time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Moon Knight's episode 4 and 5 were so good, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts. I hope everyone has a great day, and peace out. Bye.